Hello, welcome to Family Therapy Podcast. My name is George Chacha. Don't break the marriage, break the wedding. Don't break the marriage, break the wedding. Welcome to this episode that I will be sharing about precautions even as you plan to get married. You have found yourself at a point whereby maybe you are awaiting to have a pre-wedding party and raise funds for the main wedding. You have found yourself at a point where maybe the date for the wedding has been set. Pause. Wait until you get to hear this episode. I'll give you a personal experience. I was in high school, in Form 5, when I met a beautiful girl. She was a darling. Coincidentally, she too was in Form 5. Both of us were doing the same combination, namely geography, economics, and CRE. It was love at first sight. She liked me, she loved me, I liked her, I loved her. As things would be, we became fond of each other. During one school holiday, she asked me to take her for a picnic. I didn't know what a picnic is all about at the time. Apparently, she knew. I'd only known that picnics are accompanied by snacks and good things, maybe soft drinks, snacks, and all that kind of thing. And by default, where I know that it's men who shoulder the costs of such events, I asked her, what is it that I should bring along? Interestingly, she told me, George, don't worry about what you are to bring. Just bring yourself. The rest, leave to me. And she lived to her words. On the D-Day of the picnic, we met. And after exchange of pleasantries and greetings and all that, then it was time to eat. And sure enough, I was never disappointed. It was my first time to eat raw vegetables, which later I learned it's called lettuce. I could see slices of bread with what looked like raw vegetables, raw onions, raw tomatoes, and raw meat. And it was just funny, being there and just tasting things that I had never tasted. She came from a well-off family where she was well acquainted with this sophisticated kind of life. And as our picnic progressed, at some point she became wild and pushed me until I fell down. And then all of a sudden I didn't understand, and I asked her why she did all this. My darling friend couldn't explain anything. She was shivering and telling me, George, I don't want you. Go away from me. George, I don't want you. Go away from me. Get away from me. And she was shaking violently. And no attempt to calm her down bore fruits. And as such, I walked away from her, and I was walking out of the Nairobi Arboretum. That's where we had our very first picnic. And later on, she came running after me and apologized and told me, George, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. I don't know why I did it. But the damage was so big that I didn't understand her. However, for my love for her, I softened, I embraced her, and she leaned on me even as she apologized. After the picnic, we ended well, and we bade each other bye. A second time, we met again for another picnic, this time at the city park. And while we enjoyed, after we had a wonderful time and good snacks, again she pushed me and demanded that I leave her alone. She doesn't want anything to do with me. I was confused. Then I picked up my bag in an attempt to leave. Then she came running after me. She explained to me that, George, I'm sorry, I don't know why I did that. I forgave her. A third time, she did the same. We were at the Arboretum again. We were back at the Arboretum. This time I told her, I'm sorry, it's over between you and me. I cannot stomach it any longer. She cried, sobbed, and told me, George, I need you more than ever before. Please sit down and let me explain to you. Interestingly, as we sat down, she told me the story of her life. At the age of 5 years old, as a little girl, she witnessed the brutal murder of her father. Her father was, while she walked with her father within the village, one evening, a group of people sprang from the bushes, got hold of her father, beat him up, and virtually dismembered his head from his body while she watched. The father died before her very eyes. She wailed, screamed, and cried. By the time villagers came, the man lay lifeless, very dead. And the little child was there crying. Then fast forward now, I'm meeting her when she is 19 years old. 14 years later, she has not lived with her father. And here is a man who lived with his father all his life. Here is a man who the only best friend he can talk about is his father. Here is a man whose only most interesting stories, the main character is his father. I remember the many occasions when I would talk about my father in a very good light. I left the village when I was only 5 years old, and my father virtually single-handedly raised me. He washed my clothes. He washed me at first, before I learned how to wash myself. He would go out with me after work. He would hold my hand and would walk where he worked, and to his friends, even where he would go to drink his favorite local brew. I was always by my father's side. He simply loved me. And if there is somebody I could tell the story about, it was my father. Little did I know that every moment I told the story of my beloved father, I was inflicting, I was kind of rekindling the pain in this young woman whom I was suiting. Little did I know that every time I told her about my childhood, I reminded her of a wound so traumatic that had shaped her life and her destiny. Then she told me of how her father was killed and how she has always lived with the nightmares about her father. And unfortunately, we, the generation that grew up in that time, there was no social support whatsoever. People did not know the meaning of traumatic experience. People did not know the meaning of psychosocial support. This innocent little girl was never subjected to any psychosocial support, never knew that she has a psychological wound that had to replay in her life year in, year out, a psychological wound that strained the relationship between her and the boy that she truly loved, a psychological wound that was to cost a relationship that she treasured. I remember her phrases towards me, how kind I was, how loving I was, how respectful I was. All these were never to be. And because at that time I was also a naive village boy who didn't know anything about trauma, who didn't know anything about mental health, I felt like the best thing I could do for her and myself was to keep away from her, the girl, at a time when she needed me most. Very tragic. I give this story to you, which is a true story, a reflection of what many marriages are built upon. I sometimes try to wonder, what would it have become if I had married this girl that I loved so much and who loved me so much? What kind of marriage would I have experienced? What are the conflict issues that would have risen between me and this girl that I met while at high school? Friend, this episode seeks to explain the things that we go. And it is in that light that I say, don't break the marriage, break the wedding. You have found yourself in a situation where you are awaiting to marry. Have you established who or what your partner went through? Have you tried to dig or do some background check of your partner with the view of understanding him or her? Many marriages have been joined together by the pastor or by the lawyer or the magistrate, totally oblivious of the background of both parties. It is extremely important that before you walk down the aisle to take the vow of matrimony, that you do a background check of your partner. Because chances of your partner being a victim of past experiences are very high. Chances of your partner being not in control of her emotion, of his or her reaction, of his or her emotion are very high. We are what we are as a result of what we went through. Some of us have come from violent, abusive families. Some of us have come from very broken, dysfunctional families. Some of us have experienced some of the most traumatic experiences in our lives. And these experiences never go away. A human brain or psychology is a perfect SD card. It stores things for generations and even for a lifetime. And if these things are not appropriately deleted by professionals, by guidance and counseling professionals, then the person will live with these things the rest of his or her life. It's very important to recognize that the person you are about to tie the knots with could be a victim of most painful traumatic experience. It could be possible that the person you are about to tie knots with is actually a fugitive. He is running away from reality. He or she is running away from reality. He or she is only seeking for refuge and is not sure whatsoever whether he or she really needs that marriage. Friend, it's very important to pause. You'd rather break the wedding than break the marriage. You'd rather terminate or rather end a process that will culminate in marriage before you get to that marriage, because again, losing marriage is tragic, it's painful. We all walk into marriage envisaging something beautiful, and we all envisage a lifelong relationship. We all envisage a relationship characterized by love, by respect, by sensitivity, by compassion, name them. Yet when you marry a fugitive, when you marry a runaway person, someone who is running away from his or her past, these are the things that could actually come upon you. Friend, that's the reason why I say, don't wait to break the marriage. Break the wedding. At least even if you don't break the wedding, pause and reevaluate your checklist to marriage. Does your partner, does the person that you want to live the rest of your life with meet the qualifications as outlined in your checklist? Are you ready? Are you ready to tolerate, to kind of compromise certain values that you cherish? Don't wait to break the marriage. Break the wedding. Otherwise, thank you. If you have liked this show, I really request you to click the subscribe button, click the bell so that you'll constantly get updates that I share, because I have a passion to see strong families, to see strengthened relationship, couples that kind of build each other, couples that realize strong families, happy families. Therefore, I encourage you to subscribe, click the like button, like this channel, so that you give me strength. It is by you doing these three things that gives me the zeal, gives me the spirit, gives me the desire to move on. Otherwise, thank you so much. And also do share this clip with your friend, because in the end of it all, what have you contributed to your friend? We all wish that maybe our friends would send us donations, would send us generous donations, maybe gifts for our pre-wedding. Let this video clip be the best pre-wedding gift for your friend, because you will help him not break his or her marriage. Otherwise, thank you so much, and let's meet in the next episode. God bless you.